Story begins by introducing us to a family who is happily living their lives, unaware that in just a few minutes, something so terrifying would happen to them that the thought of it alone was frightening. As the husband and wife were engrossed in their conversation, they suddenly heard screams and shouts from outside. When they both stepped out of the house, they saw chaos among the people outside. People were fleeing their homes as if something major was about to happen. Jason and Beth saw their neighbors also quickly and frantically evacuating their homes. Jason asked a neighbor, "What is the reason? Why are you leaving your home?" But they were in such a hurry that they didn't answer Jason. Then they saw the neighbor's son, also packing his belongings. When Jason asked the child, "Where are you all going?" the child replied, "My father has a friend who is a government officer. He said a very poisonous virus has spread that turns a normal person into a monster." But just then, the child's mother came and started pulling him away. Jason asked her, "What virus is this child talking about?" To which the child's mother said, "There's no time to explain now. Take your wife and daughter and get as far away from this city as possible." Hearing this, Jason and Beth became very frightened. Without a second thought, Jason put his family in the car and started driving out of the city. However, on the way, they saw the neighbors who were fleeing now returning. This struck them as very odd. Further on, they got stuck in traffic. When Jason and his family got out of the car, they saw that the only road out of the city had been blocked by the police. Helicopters began patrolling the skies, and people were being told that a poisonous virus had spread in the city and that they should return home immediately. This made Jason feel something was wrong. If a virus had spread, why were people being told to stay in the city instead of being evacuated? Just then, a large stone suddenly fell onto their car from the nearby hill. They were terrified. The hill began to shake. Then, two military fighter jets emerged from behind the hill and headed toward the city. The two fighter jets began bombing the entire city, turning the entire area to ash. Jason's wife, Beth, immediately understood that if they had listened to the police and returned home, their fate would have been terrible. The fighter jets then started moving towards the people on the road. Seeing this, panic erupted among everyone. Now everyone understood that the government wanted to kill them. Everyone began running here and there to save their lives. But Jason and Beth realized that no matter where they ran, the fighter jets would kill them. Then, Beth looked behind her and saw a school on the hill. And she thought that place would be better for their survival. Following her idea, Jason, Beth, and Zoe began climbing the hill towards the school. The fighter jets started dropping bombs on the people on the bridge behind them. The three of them ran quickly and reached the school, and luckily, they found a tunnel there. Just seconds before a bomb blast, they quickly slipped into the tunnel. As the bunker door closed, there was a huge explosion above them. Fortunately, they were beneath the bunker, and their lives were saved. However, they were bewildered. What kind of virus was this that required the government to kill everyone in the city? They couldn't understand anything. They only knew that if they wanted to survive, they had to quietly live in the bunker. But the troubling question for them was, how long would they live here, and what would they do for food and drink? The good thing was that there was a lot of expired food stored there, which could last the three of them for a long time. Jason's wife, Beth, was very worried. She started thinking about her daughter Zoe. What would they do if she fell ill? Beth had also cut her hand deeply while closing the door. They were both worried that the poisonous virus might have already attacked their bodies. But this was not the time to think about that. They had to make the bunker safe, so no one could open the door from above. Jason securely shut the bunker door with a heavy iron chain and decided they would have to live in hiding there. However, life underground was not easy. Every day it was the same food, muddy water to drink, and they played cards in their free time. Their connection to the outside world was completely cut off. After many days, they became very restless in the bunker. But what could they do? If they went outside, their lives would not be spared. This life made Jason's family feel like they were living at the end of the world. Zoe asked her father, "Daddy, how long will we stay here?" Jason had no answer. He simply told his daughter, "We will go outside only when the virus is gone." He would place his fingers over her eyes and ask her to imagine the world outside. Days turned into months this way. They didn't realize that more than 300 days had passed in the bunker while waiting to go outside. Zoe used a periscope made by her mother to look at the outside world. All around, there was only a scene of destruction, as if the entire world had been burned to ashes. There was no sign of any human being. Seeing all this, the little girl began to feel that perhaps they were the last people left in the world. Her mother comforted her, saying, don't think like that. Maybe your friends are also hiding somewhere, just like us. Now it was night, and it was dinner time. They had very little food left, so the three of them made do with a small amount. But today, at Zoe's insistence, she was given a whole can. When Zoe opened the tin, she saw that the can was empty inside. There was a small hole in the back of the can. Something had perhaps stolen the food from it. Beth checked all the remaining cans and discovered that a total of 12 cans were empty. They were very worried because this was 2 weeks' worth of their rations. Beth looked at the ventilation grate and guessed that perhaps a rat had come in and taken the food. Beth said that if it was a rat, they had to kill it soon, or it would ruin all their food. Seeing his daughter's sad face, Jason comforted her. Don't worry about small things. Even if the food runs out, I'll go up and get some supplies. The next day, while Zoe was playing with blocks with her mother, a slight sound came from behind. When Zoe turned around, a rat had entered again to steal the canned food. Before the rat could escape, Zoe immediately called her parents. Today they had to kill this rat at all costs. Jason angrily took out a knife and advanced to chop it into pieces. But the small rat was very fast. It evaded Jason's attack and ran away, knocking over the lantern on the table. Just as it was about to enter its burrow, Beth suddenly lunged and killed the rat. They were all celebrating the rat's death, but on the other side, the fallen lantern slowly started a fire. Jason ran to put out the lantern, but it was very hot, burning Jason's hand. And when the glass of the lantern cracked, the whole table caught fire. Beth tore off a curtain and tried to put out the fire. Jason quickly took half a bucket of water from the tap and threw it on the fire. Somehow, they both managed to put out the fire, but the danger had not passed. In fact, their problems were now going to increase. Although they had put out the fire, the smoke rising from it had filled the entire bunker and was slowly escaping through the ventilation grate towards the outside. Seeing this, they all panicked because the smoke was revealing their location. They all sat holding their breath. Jason said that maybe the darkness of the night would hide the smoke and no one would know about their location. The three of them stayed awake all night, overshadowed by fear. The next morning, they looked out through the periscope for their own reassurance, and the ground slipped from under their feet. They saw that a massive cloud of smoke had risen outside. Seeing this, their anxiety grew. They were fully convinced that the secret of their hiding spot had been exposed. Then Beth said that if smoke had risen, there would be ash nearby, and by investigating the ash, their location could be discovered. Therefore, they now had to clean up the ash. After this, the husband and wife decided to go outside and clean. Before leaving, Jason told his daughter Zoe, "Promise me that no matter what sound you hear or what happens outside, you must not come out." After getting the promise from his daughter, he unlocked the chain on the door. They carefully listened to the sounds outside, and when they were sure no one was there, they both opened the bunker door and went outside. Their daughter was left alone inside. She was waiting for her parents, but after waiting for a long time, when her parents still didn't return, she climbed onto a stool and started looking at the situation outside with the binoculars. Soon, she saw that her parents were trying to conceal the bunker door. But then Zoe saw something that made her heart stop. She saw a black shadow rapidly moving towards them from the distant jungle. The girl shouted loudly for her father to look behind him, but the distance was too great. Her parents couldn't hear her. In her panic, the girl forgot her fear, climbed the ladder, and came out of the bunker. As soon as she got out, she realized her parents were no longer there. The girl anxiously started calling out for her parents loudly. Suddenly, someone clamped their hand over her mouth from behind. It was none other than her mother. A few seconds later, a herd of wild deer quickly ran past them. Although the three of them were saved by a hair's breadth, Beth's fear increased even more. The way these deer were running was surely an attempt to escape from something dangerous. Everyone sensed the danger and quickly ran back towards the bunker and got inside. Jason shut the bunker door with wooden planks and secured it tightly with the iron chain, telling everyone to be absolutely quiet. Then they heard the slow sound of footsteps from above. It seemed like someone was approaching the bunker door. Whatever it was, it walked back and forth over the bunker for several minutes. The three of them slowly moved away from the bunker door, further inside. Perhaps whatever was above hadn't noticed that someone was in the bunker below. In fear, Zoe started crying. Beth quieted her, saying that if the sound reached outside, it would all be over. They slowly moved quite far from the bunker door. They moved away from the door so that even if someone opened the bunker door from above, they wouldn't be able to see them below. But then, the string of the doll Zoe was holding got caught in a screw. The screw slowly started to loosen. Seeing this, Jason and Beth's hearts stopped, because the string was connected to the doll's sound switch. Before they could do anything, the screw was yanked out, and at that moment, loud sounds started coming from the doll. Jason immediately ripped the doll apart and broke the speaker inside. But it was too late now. The thing that was chasing them above had gotten a hint of their presence. Suddenly, there was a loud crash from above, and then the echo of heavy footsteps stopped right over the bunker door. It had finally found their hiding place and started trying to open it. It was pushing the bunker lid forcefully, and despite being secured by chains, the danger was clearly felt. The monster above knew that someone must be below. Although the door was secured with strong chains, those chains began to break one by one against the creature's terrifying strength. Seeing this, Jason knew that the door wouldn't last much longer. So he quickly ran inside and began tearing out the water pump pipe. Beth also showed courage and climbed the ladder, using her body weight to pull the chain and try to keep the door shut. But still, the iron lid slowly began to open. Just then, a black shadow appeared over the doorway. Its eyes glowed like light bulbs, as if their death was watching them from above. Without thinking, Jason attacked it with the pipe, causing it to fall back. Jason quickly jammed the pipe into the door to close it, and the thing ran away from there. But Jason's body was still trembling terribly. You never could have imagined that in the outside world there were not only ruthless soldiers, but also dangerous monsters roaming around. The whole family sat dejectedly by the stairs because their hiding spot was now exposed. They could be attacked at any moment, and they realized that only one had come this time. But the next time they came, their numbers would be much greater, and they would be helpless against them. A little later, the closet suddenly started shaking. Jason and Beth understood that it had called its companions. Loud footsteps could be heard from above, as if thousands of creatures were running over their heads. Then, they all gathered at the bunker door. Jason, Beth, and Zoe were trembling below with fear. Suddenly, they launched a ferocious attack. This time, the strength was far greater than before. The strong iron door broke and fell down, and a mass of glowing eyes appeared at the bunker entrance, causing them to retreat in fear. But the monsters kept following them. Beth threw her oil lamp, setting fire to the curtain between them, and both of them grabbed the cupboard to block the path between them. They all quickly ran towards the interior of the bunker, but they knew that this would not stop them for long. They had no way to escape now. Then, the girl saw a ventilation opening in the floor. Jason forcefully tore it open and pushed his wife and daughter out with all his might. But when he tried to climb out himself, he got stuck due to the narrow space. On the other side, the monsters were advancing towards him. Jason had to get out of there somehow. He saw no other way, so he deliberately broke his collarbone, screaming in pain, but quickly composed himself and slipped into the ventilation shaft. Beth, without wasting any time, used all her strength to pull Jason out. Just as Jason was about to emerge, a giant creature came and grabbed Jason's leg. Jason understood that his escape was now impossible. There was no hope of getting away. Jason looked into his wife's eyes and said, "No matter what happens, don't let anything happen to Zoe." And the next moment, the monster pulled him into the bunker. But Jason, instead of being afraid of the monsters in the bunker, challenged them. "Come on, let's see how strong you are." When Beth and Zoe looked down, loud screams were coming from the bunker. Beth understood that her husband was fighting to buy them time to escape. Even in pain, she took her daughter and left, fleeing from the monsters. They managed to get quite far, but as they were running, they felt something strange. They saw that the highway that opened to the outside world was now blocked by a high wall. This meant that no one could leave this city anymore. Just then, a helicopter flew towards them from a distance. When Beth turned around, it was an army helicopter. The helicopter quickly approached them and shone its bright spotlight on them. Just as they were about to run, a large net dropped on them from above, trapping them both. They tried every possible way to free themselves from the net, but it had completely immobilized them. Through the netting, Beth saw some black shadows with green eyes approaching them. This is where the real secret of the story was revealed. The people with yellow eyes holding guns, whom they thought were monsters, were actually military soldiers wearing gas masks and night vision goggles. The eyes with the yellow glow were what made them look like something from another world. But the question remained, why were the military personnel out to kill these people? This whole secret will be revealed in the remaining short part of the story. Now, Beth and Zoe were both under the soldiers' control. One of the soldiers took out a large syringe and injected them both in the neck. When their blood was tested, it was discovered that they were also infected with the poisonous virus. This meant that both of them were a threat to the planet. That is, they would now be killed. In reality, when the virus first spread, many people in this small town had been infected. This virus was airborne and spread very quickly from one person to another. The infected people themselves did not know they were sick, and the government had no antidote to stop the virus. The government had no choice but to kill the infected people. Beth cried, begging, "Please, let my child go." When Beth saw that the soldiers were not going to spare her little daughter, she became completely enraged. Black marks began to emerge on her face. But before she could do anything, a fountain of blood erupted from a soldier's neck. It was none other than Jason, returned from death. Jason hadn't died in the bunker. Instead, he had lost control and killed all the creatures there. At that moment, he was filled with rage. Black marks covered his face, and his eyes were red with anger, and his physical strength had increased manifold. It was clear that he was no longer the Jason they knew, but had taken on a different form. He lunged at the soldiers, fighting and killing them. But he couldn't stop the bullets from the hot weapons and fell to the ground. When the soldiers turned towards Beth and Zoe, both of them had broken the net and run away. The soldiers started searching for them everywhere, but they had no idea that Beth had also transformed into a monstrous form. She hid Zoe inside a car and started fighting the soldiers herself. She killed several soldiers and then fell onto the car roof herself after being shot. Her daughter, hidden in the dark, saw all this. Seeing the condition of her parents, she also lost control in anger. In one leap, she knocked down a soldier, broke his mask, and was about to kill him when Beth stopped her in time. She didn't want her daughter to also become a monster. Beth calmed her down. Slowly, the greenness in the girl's veins disappeared, and she turned back into a human. But the soldier was not so lucky. His safety mask was broken, and he slowly became infected with the virus. On the other side, Jason's condition was very serious. Looking at his daughter's face, he gently ran 2 fingers across her eyes, and then Jason closed his eyes forever. Just then, another helicopter arrived. Beth grabbed her daughter and ran. Going through a pile of junk, they entered a tunnel. Then a light fell on their eyes. Upon looking, they saw that it was the same little neighbor boy they had seen at the beginning of the story. Then they followed him. The boy led them to a cave-like tunnel where his parents and many other people were hiding. In fact, there were people infected with the virus, just like them. To survive, they were all forced to live a rat-like life in the dark. This virus was certainly dangerous, but not deadly. The virus exerted more force on the infected person's body when they were afraid or couldn't control their anger. But in reality, those people had learned to control themselves. They thought the soldiers in the city were monsters, but in reality, they themselves were the monsters. The story ends here. Meet me again in next video.